Joining me today is licensed mental health counselor Shantala Boss. Shantala, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this has been quite a year. We're talking about a pandemic. We're talking about ongoing racial justice and the movement behind that. And of course, to top it off, we're talking about a very contentious election. When it comes to gathering during the holidays and meeting up with perhaps people with different points of view, what are some of the ways to navigate those conversations?
Well, before we even walk in the door and sit down at the dinner table, I think it's really important that we set our expectations within ourselves as to what we're expecting to get out of this time, what we want to discuss, what we don't want to discuss, what we're comfortable and not comfortable with. And then discussing that with our close family members before the Thanksgiving holiday. So if it already is the day of Thanksgiving, maybe making a phone call to everyone and saying, okay, let's just talk about certain things and let's keep the conversation light. Or if you guys are all on the same page on some topics, you could possibly agree to talking about those things. And it's not to say that it's not okay to express your viewpoints or discuss your thoughts. It's always important to do that. But the Thanksgiving dinner table can be very complicated as there can be a lot of different family members. So we want to keep that a positive, uplifting environment, talking about things we're grateful for, talking about things that we have in common. This is a time to be happy and grateful. And then as we pull away from the dinner table, we can have those side conversations with different family members, friends. It's always important to share our feelings and emotions, especially during this time. We need the support of each other, but keeping that dinner table conversation sacred and just uplifting, I think is really important. So setting those expectations with family members and within ourselves before we even sit down.
So let's say that you have set those boundaries, you've decided for yourself, you've spoken with some of the family members, but what if they don't adhere to that? I mean, how do you respond when you are still trying to create that community-oriented, uplifting atmosphere? How do you address that?
Well, I think we have to practice this every day and even in our community now. So when people say things that we don't agree with or we feel a tinge of discomfort, hearing them out, trying to be open-minded that we all are different. We come from different walks of life. Everyone has a different viewpoint and they're entitled to that. And that's what makes America wonderful. That's what makes being here in the United States a blessing. So respecting that, and just kind of checking ourselves, like and if we're getting triggered in any way, why is that, and how can we calm ourselves down, and listening to them, hearing them out, and then just slowly trying to reroute the conversation back into something a little bit more pleasant. If we feel we don't agree with them or we are upset in any way, saving that to maybe a later time when there is not so much at stake as far as such a huge family gathering, and we can have those conversations later, but trying to reroute them at this point on this day.
It's so interesting. You can absolutely love a family member, but you may not always like them. So when it comes to preparing yourself, how do you practice those conversations and those interactions? Like, what does that look like?
Well, it looks like just talking about things that, we all, our family members, have a lot in common. Family members have a history together, right? So we have so much as a family and as friends to talk about. We don't have to talk about everything that's happened with us in this past year. Even beforehand, before sitting down, you can set different traditions and have everyone go around and talk about a certain situation that happened a few years ago that they remember as being pleasant, like the last Thanksgiving that they remember that was their best Thanksgiving, or their last Christmas, or their favorite memory of mom and dad. You can go around the whole table and have different discussions and different themes of discussions. And I think that'd be a great way to kind of offset any stress, is just kind of having more of a structured way of expressing gratitude and maybe even setting some new traditions.
I love that. But what if, let's say, the holiday is just too stressful? Is it okay for people just not to attend, to say, you know what, I can't go this year?
Yes, absolutely. It's always okay for us to check in with ourselves if we emotionally are feeling that we are not able to handle a situation. It takes a strong person to admit that and to be honest with themselves and with their family. There is no shame in that. And especially during this time with the risk of COVID and the concern about illness, it's very understandable that some family members just can't be together, and that is okay. So definitely checking in with ourselves emotionally and figuring out where we are as far as our health and our emotions on this holiday, and then being true to ourselves. So, and also being aware of the reasons why we picked what we picked. If we are staying home, remembering why, so that when our family members, if they try to guilt us into anything, we can hold true to the reasons that we chose and stay true to ourselves is very important.
Such wonderful advice. Always good for a holiday, but especially one with so many different moving parts this ongoing year. Shantala Boss, a licensed mental health counselor, thank you so much for going in depth with us today.
Thank you.